Star family, welcome to this cosmic Q&A. I received many awesome questions from you guys in the past week or so. Thank you for all the valuable input, interesting ideas and questions that you had. I have noted most of them, or at least combined some of them into a singular question. But the first thing that we will go into is basically the main topic that I have put out as a title of this event, is how to reclaim your power after you have realized that you have given it away. So that will be the primary subject at the beginning, and we branch out from there. So, a huge welcome and many love to everyone who's joining us live. And if you're watching the replay, thank you very much for being here and watching us once again. If anyone has any questions during the event or after, you can place them now into the chat box. If you put a question mark at the beginning of your question, that would be greatly appreciated. And also, if you're watching the replay, then please do leave a comment, and I will try to do my best to answer your questions. Okay, and before we start, if not all of you most likely haven't noticed, that since 2 days ago, I believe, yes, it was on the 28th at the full moon, for the first time, now it's public, the Book of Immortals audiobook. Now you can go and listen to it. And this book, at least it's the continuation of the teachings of Thoth the Atlantean. You can also find the audiobook version on my channel. It's usually the first video that pops up when you go to my channel. And now the continuation of it has been finally released, since I have written it in the November of 2021, basically. When I did it, I thought it's going to be like another book, and stuff just stopped coming, so I haven't received any other information. I have written 5 chapters, and that's about it. And in the past, I think like the last half year or so, I realized that, hey, like that's not a new book, like that's the continuation of the other one. And simply I just received this information of this, hey, like this is a new book and you shouldn't release it, because most likely I would have updated the old version with the new information. But now we're on a timeline when I can publicly share the information that is in the Book of Immortals. So if you're interested, you can check it out. It's the latest video that I've uploaded to my channel, and also it will be available in a written format very soon. Most likely the thing that will be updated the quickest is the PDF version on my site, which is free. You can read it for free if you're interested. And I will also update the Kindle and Google Book version as well, although that is a bit more trickier on the technical side, but I will do it somehow. Okay. Yes, Crystal Gillen, I believe I pronounced that correctly. Yeah, too much pressure in my forehead and ears. Yes, well, congratulations. Welcome to the club. Yeah, I kind of feel the same stuff as well. I'm not sure if I'm like, my body is going to come down with a sickness or something, or like these like very mild flu type of symptoms that just come and go. But I do feel the same pressure in the head thingy, and I'm also been struggling with speaking for the past 2 or 3 weeks. So let's hope that everything goes well in this hour or so, and my voice won't give up. And other than that, like Ascension Symptoms side, like I have for some reason, like some kind of digestive issue, although I do pay a lot of attention on what I eat and like what I put into my body. So this is something very new for me, and it's super unpleasant because I'm not used to having these problems. So, but usually it like comes and goes. I also experience like joint issues, especially in my hips and knees, but it is not as intense as it was like maybe a few years ago. So it's much more better right now, at least on my end. Okay. So let us begin, and I will go into the first topic, which is reclaim your power after you have realized that you have given it away. So I will fully lean into my guides and ask them for assistance for this one. it's a complex topic and it is also super important. I don't remember who has written it in, but thank you. I think it was like 3 weeks ago. So here we go. I'm going to take a sip of water just to be sure, and let's see what information comes through. Okay, so in general, like the idea that I'm always getting regarding like losing power is most like it's a type of agreed upon circumstance that we have agreed to collectively. Since Earth is such a limited zone here, basically, then basically the whole point of this atmosphere and environment that is here on Earth is to experiment and experience limitation to the fullest. So all souls who come here wished to experience limitation, separation from source, separation from our divine self, from God, or however you wish to phrase it. And basically, the only way you can experience that fully is that you create the illusion of separation. But of course, separation is not real because all is one within the all. But the only thing that we can do is create the illusion of this separation. And if you fully give into this belief system and to the depths of your being, you know that you're separate from all there is and everyone else, then basically you're going to experience life from that perspective of being isolated, of being alone, of being, I don't know, like being in a very difficult life situation because we feel disconnected, powerless. And that's the main theme, or at least the theme that Mother Earth has perpetuated or at least experienced for quite some time. But in the past few thousands of years, the time has come to rise out of this. And gradually this has been the case because many teachers have come forth from now and then to remind people of their power, to remind them of who they are, to remind them of their divine connection to Source. And from now and then, people have truly realized this state of alignment, realizing of who they truly are, their connectedness to God and all other things in the cosmos. And basically that has been the goal here on Earth, to create this very dense environment where you can redefine who you are, basically. And Earth is it's a very dense place, but it's not the worst place ever. Like, there are far more oppressed planets than planet Earth. But the advantageous part in Earth is that you're kind of in the middle of everything here. It's an awesome place where you can experience the highest light, but you can like also sink into like super dark stuff as well, in the same lifetime and in the same planetary system, basically. So we have this unique opportunity here on Earth to choose of like what we want to represent, like what types of energies we want to align ourselves with. And basically that's the whole journey here. Like, what do you want to achieve and do in this playing field that is planet Earth? Like, you have the opportunity to reclaim your power, to express it, to assist others, to be service to others, and also assist others in reclaiming, or rather like realizing that they always had the power within themselves. And also, if you don't want to choose that path, you can stay in the middle ground, of course, which many people do. Or if you don't want to do those, then you can sink into greater depths of density of maybe like extorting people who don't know and are like lost in the maze of illusions, and like use them to like achieve your needs, which we have seen quite a bit of on planet Earth. But now we're in a phase in which we're transitioning out of that. And the best way to assist this whole process of healing and awakening is by first working on ourselves, like realizing what types of limiting belief systems do we hold in ourselves, and actually working with them in a day-to-day basis if you can. You don't have to, but it really helps if you're super mindful each day of what you do, what you think, how do you react to things, and try to, when you're reacting or behaving in a specific way that you do not prefer, then in those cases, like try to like stop and observe yourself, like where does this come from? Like what do I have to believe to be true in order to react in this way or to behave in this situation in this particular way? Or why am I triggered by specific things and I'm not triggered by other things? Like what do I hold to be true in order that this makes me feel like this? And basically the only way to, like in quotation marks, to reclaim your power is to like work with our belief systems every day. And the more you do it, like the easier it will become, because it's like it's just like with exercising. If you repeat a specific exercise and the more you do it, the easier it will become. So even like stemming, like taking the weed and like clearing out your garden of your mind and your life, it can seem like a very daunting task in the beginning, and it probably is for many of us in the beginning. But the more you do it, the more you realize that, hey, like this is like becoming second nature to me. Like whenever something unpleasant happens, or like whenever life throws something unpleasant into my face, like I know now how to deal with it. Like I know what to do. Like it's not still not comfortable or pleasant, but still I know now how to deal with it and how can I transform it. And basically I think like that's the real power in this whole thing, is to realize that, hey, like I have power over the situation that I'm in. Like I may not, yeah, like we cannot control the weather or like what happens in the world at large, but the thing that we have the power over is like what do we do with that specific situation. Like you can look at Earth as like maybe a huge playing ground or a game or simulation, like virtual reality. And like this virtual reality has its laws, and there are great world events in this environment. And the whole point of that is that it gives you different opportunities at every day, every week, or every year to like change, to evolve, or do something differently. And the only thing that we can change about the things that are happening is like, how do we react in those specific situations? Like, what do we do with the time that is given to us here on planet Earth? Like, that's truly the only thing that you have power over in this reality. But the more you work with that, then the more you will realize that, holy shit, like this stuff is really affecting other things around me or other people around me. Like the more you work with yourself in a conscious way and you strive towards maintaining a higher state of being, also healing yourself, becoming more aligned and healthy, the more of an effect you will have also in your environment. Not just in your immediate environment, but also at large as well. Because as you are changing, the collective is changing as well. And of course, like what I'm always receiving is that reality around you like has to reflect what is happening within you as well. So if you have changed within, then also your surroundings are forced to adapt to it as well, because what is happening around us is a certain type of reflection of what is within. So the only way to change what is around us is to first change what is within, what is not working within yourself, like what types of detrimental limiting belief systems you have regarding yourself or your relationship with self, your relationship with others. And at large, those are the things that you can see reflected back to you. In some cases, even on a global scale as well. Because not only you or I are like maybe struggling with a specific pattern or specific belief system, like that can be a huge overarching theme that like most of the people on planet Earth are struggling with. For example, this whole issue of powerlessness, or the issue of oppression, or losing control over your own life, for example. I think like this has been a huge theme here on planet Earth for quite some time. And like it's not something that is going to be resolved by just a few people. Like everyone is facing those issues in their own specific way. And also like the past few years have been very valuable in this whole healing process, because it has shown us like, hey, like these are the things that are not working on your world, and like, what do you want to do with that? Like, do you want to continue doing this, what you have been doing so far, or do you want to change and take things in a different direction? Because now it is a time to like decide. I think maybe it's kind of past, I'm not sure, but in general, this has been the huge theme the past few years. Like, okay, like now it's a turning point in your own life and also in the collective as well. It's like, okay, like now we see like what is not working. Like there have been a lot of issues that we have been collectively avoiding because it's uncomfortable and we don't like to look at nasty things. But we've ended up in a point in our history where we are faced with all the nasty stuff that have been lurking in the shadows on planet Earth. And now is the time to decide like, okay, like, do I want to put my energy into that? Or do I choose to continue to ignore its existence, which in my opinion is becoming next to impossible? Or I choose to heal from that and I choose to remove my energy from all those limiting things because I want to manifest something else in my life. Like that is no longer representative of the world that I want to live in. And the only way to create the one that we do prefer to live in is to like first clean out those stuff from ourselves and to consciously remove ourselves from those structures of control, oppression, I don't know how to call that, dark stuff, nasty contracts that we have been collectively agreeing to for God knows how long, to consciously remove our energies from it. You can do it in a form of maybe spiritual contract removal if that is something that resonates. You can do some research on spiritual contract removal or energetic contract removal, because we have a lot of those. We have some very good ones and we have some very unwanted ones in our lives, in our fields. And in some cases, this may have been something that you particularly didn't really agree to at all. Like maybe that's something that you have inherited, or you have agreed to that specific things like maybe 3,000 years ago in another lifetime. And now it's like being perpetuated over and over again. And now in this lifetime, you have the opportunity to do something about it. Like now is the time to bring, like, I think we don't necessarily have to bring things up. Like we're generally in a time where things just come up. Many unpleasant stuff are like coming up into our reality, so we can face them and decide what we want to do with them. And yeah, like now is the time to decide how we want to move forward with them. But if you choose to work with them, if you want to transmute those limiting beliefs, those contracts, and to create something positive, then now it's an amazing time to do that, because we don't have to spend lifetimes or many years to do it right now. Now, right now, we're in this super catalytic time where things can happen very quickly if you want it to happen. So if you put your mind, spirit, and body into it, then you basically can achieve great change in a very small amount of time, if you desire to do so. Okay, so that's at large what I've been receiving regarding that. And our next question has been, this has been pre-recorded. How can I receive the energy of money on Earth? And I think it ties in very well with the main topic. I have always been dealing with financial issues, no matter how much I work on my limiting beliefs. I feel like an alien who doesn't understand the concept of money as a form of abundance. And I think probably most of us have been working with these belief systems that we had regarding financial abundance that may come in the form of money. It doesn't have to. But basically, money is just a representation of a form in which abundance can come into our lives. Right now, at this time, it is a necessity. If you don't live in the jungle and hunt, and if you don't live a hunter-gatherer type of lifestyle in the jungle. So I think like the best way to go about it is like first like demystifying and like releasing all negative belief systems regarding money, even though it has been invented to be a form of enslavement. So but you can like look at it as a tool, maybe just like electricity. So you can use electricity to do great things, but if you're not careful, it can also kill you, so, or be very dangerous. And it's kind of the same way with money as well. Like, it's a tool, like in of itself, it's not evil or anything. It's just a tool through which you can do stuff. And it's a tool that you can use to your advantage as well. Of course, do it with integrity. That is also very important for reaching balance and healing all this situation that we had regarding financial abundance on planet Earth. But yeah, like, take it as a form of abundance, which is okay. It is okay. Yeah, I know like many people have these belief systems that like money is the root of all evil, but at the same time, you have other belief systems that like money is the only thing for which you can like be happy or live in this life. And like when we have these conflicting belief systems regarding something, then it can create a lot of issues within ourselves as well, because we don't have like a fixed way of functioning, and we just attract all the negative belief systems that are like lurking in our subconscious. But in my opinion and experience, like the best way to deal with it is to, hey, like money is just a form of an abundance, but abundance can come into your life in many different ways as well. And I think the most important thing that you can do is like use the energy of gratitude, of attracting more abundance into your own life. And like the best way you can do that is to create like a daily practice routine. I usually do it at the end of my day when I like create a list for the things that I'm grateful for. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be something related to financial stuff. In most cases, it is absolutely not in my case. But you can be grateful for anything, basically, all the things that you have. Even if you're like in a very difficult situation, even still you have things that you can be grateful for. Like the one that I learned a lot from, I haven't known him personally, but he was our family friend. He was very old, and I think he lived like 5 years in captivity after the Second World War in the Soviet camps. So he had a very difficult few years of his life, of like a period from which not everyone survived, but he did. And like the only way he was like able to survive those difficult years is by like shifting his mindset and like being grateful for all the little things that he had each day. Like some days it was like he was grateful for not being beaten or, I don't know, like punished for something. Or he was just grateful to eat 2 potatoes that day, and he was not starving that day. So I hope none of us have to go to that lengths, to those steps, basically. But yeah, we have a lot of things that we can be grateful for, like having a roof over our head, or being able to do things that we enjoy doing, or just had a wonderful meal today, or you name it. Like, you have to find your own, basically. But just in general, like, find at least 5, the more the better. And like in a type of meditation, like bring those experiences up, and like bring up from your heart the energy of gratitude and peace, and like truly be grateful and thank those experiences and those opportunities that you had at that specific day. Like, maybe you're just grateful that you have a supporting husband, or you're grateful for your family, you're grateful for your kids, or you're grateful that you had a great day at work, or it can be whatever. It can be as simple and weird as you want it to be. It doesn't really matter. So yeah, and just do that practice and try to focus more on those rather the things that you don't have. Because in many cases, when you like progress on this path, you will discover with time that, hey, like all these things that I thought I needed, I really don't. So thank you, universe, for not sending those things my way, because most likely they could have been a distraction from my path, or they were just simply not important to my well-being. But yeah, I know like many of us have to like many things or like to achieve things that we don't have at this time, which is completely cool. So, but in many cases, we don't necessarily need them or need them right now, and rather just like focus on the things that you have, be grateful for them. And as you do so, you're sending out basically the energy of gratitude and abundance to the universe. And as we were talking about it like 10 minutes ago, it's like you're always receiving back what you're putting out. So if you're constantly like emanating the energy of abundance, of being happy with what you have, and knowing that you have everything that you need in life, then that's what you're going to receive back. So if you're happy with what you have, then the universe will send you even more things that you can be happy with. So that's kind of how it works. The more grateful you are, the more things you will receive in your life for which you can be grateful for. But if you come from the perspective of lack, of like not having, like I never have enough or I never like what I have, then you're coming from the perspective of lack. And like the universe will create events for you so you can experience even more lack. So you will have even less than you had before. And whenever you like have these, I don't know, like struggling with these things, like always catch yourself like, hey, like what do I want to have more of in my life? Do I want to have more things that I want, that I can be grateful for? Or do I want to experience more of my limiting belief systems? Or do I want to perpetuate more my limiting belief systems? And then when you like realize that, okay, like stop, wait a second, like now I have the opportunity to choose what I want, how I want to proceed further and what to experience. So yeah, like the power is in our hands to govern what we want to experience in this life. Okay. Okay, so let's continue with the next question. How can we balance our ego? I often have the thought I am better than them, even though intellectually I know that is not true. Okay, like I'm not sure like how many of you have been consciously working with the ego. I know like some Eastern practices like go into it. And I know like I'm not sure if it's like a thing nowadays, but I know like at a certain point in the collective new age thingy and this movement, there was this like kill the ego, and like the ego is bad and you don't want to have it in your life. And the more you're like struggling with the ego and like the more you try to suppress it, the worse it will get. So try to be a good friend with your ego and just accept it for what it is. Like it's a necessity here on in this reality, because basically the ego is here to assist us in surviving in this dense environment. It's basically based on survival instincts. So the ego is there to make sure that you don't come to harm, that you don't challenge yourself, that you don't kill yourself, or you won't lack anything. But like that's a good thing, because planet Earth can be a dangerous place. But if it's not in balance, then it can create many nasty situations and habits and personalities that most likely will not assist you in your spiritual growth. So always like, yeah, like whenever these like egoic things come up, like these belief systems, one of them which is lack, basically, that the only way that you can have is by like taking it away from others, or if someone else succeeds then you're going to lose, and like that's very egoic stuff. I know like these belief systems have been like perpetuated on planet Earth for quite some time, and I find them very annoying, especially when I see it with people that are close to me. Like, why are you still doing those things? It makes no sense. But yeah, okay. But you can yeah, like also during meditations, the ego can creep up, and the way we address it during the meditations that we do usually is like ask the ego mind to like step aside, like it's okay, like nobody's trying to suppress you, but we value the ego mind very much so. It has a valuable perspective on life. It has a valuable perspective on like how you can navigate this dense environment. It is greatly appreciated, but right now I want to do something for which I need like a higher perspective. And I want a different type of opinion on this specific situation. And like the more calmer you can calm down your ego, I'm not sure how you can do that, but the more it subsides and like the more stress you put into not existing and functioning from the perspective of your ego mind, the less of the problem it will become, basically. And would just like simply balance out and integrate with the higher version of you. So in short, like don't try to suppress it, like try to work with it, but like keep it in like a healthy and balanced way. Okay. Hey, hello, Sarah. Can you please give us any advice on connecting with mantis beings for healing? Yes, I'm not very experienced with mantis beings. I only had like a few experiences with them, but one of them was when they did some kind of it was not surgery, but they did some kind of energetic stuff with my hips and lower back since I was experiencing some issue with it a few years ago. It was a very strange and fuzzy experience, but that's the last time I've seen them. They're like pretty big guys, so they have difficulty fitting into such huge rooms as these, basically. Okay, Silver Boho Soul. Are we getting our abilities and powers back in the next few years? Like, why can't we get it back right now? Like, step by step, things are coming back to us. Like, it doesn't have to be next year or 10 years from now. The more we work on ourselves and the more we focus on healing and bringing balance within ourselves, like the more of these so-called abilities can come to the surface, and the more we can integrate them in a practical way as well. So instead of like, what I always get is, instead of like focusing on having a specific ability or doing some kind of wow thing that many people talk about, just simply focus on like being healed and being the best version of yourself that you can be. And like everything that you would have develop naturally anyways will just simply come to you, because now you're ready to have that specific ability, or now you're ready to tap into something that was hidden to you so far. So just be patient and do your homework. And the more we do that, the more amazing stuff we will receive at the end of each lesson. Okay. Okay. Oh yeah, and there's like another cool question. How do we know who our guides are? Yes, like the eternal question of guides, like, which is, I don't have a definitive answer for this, but yeah, like I think most of us already know that if you're here, you have guides, you have protectors who are like making sure that we don't experience things that are not in alignment with us, but they also make sure that we experience everything that is in alignment with us. But they're not here to like stop us from doing stupid thing, because this is our experience and we decide by our free will of what we want to experience. And if we want to make stupid decisions, oh my god, to take like unnecessary or non-beneficial routes in our lives, then we can totally do that. Like, they're not going to stop you from doing that. The only thing maybe they will like warn you or like point out a few errors in your thinking, maybe, or just like project to you like, hey, like if you're doing this, then like that will happen, and like, are you still sure you're going to do this? But they're like not going to like step in and like prevent you doing stuff, except maybe if like I think I had like one or two occasions like that, but it's like, I know, it's like super emergency. It has to be an emergency or something, like a life or death situation for them to actually like come in and like do something very drastic, so you don't check out before you complete your mission, basically. But most of our times, I don't really think we even remember those stuff. We're just like back and like thinking like, wow, like I wonder how I got out of that one. But yeah, they work in very interesting ways. And in most cases, like I don't really think it's important to like know the specifics of our guides. Like it's not a necessity, but like developing a steady communication or like work relationship with them can be like super beneficial, because like they are your team and they are your support group and they're always here to assist you. And like you can have guides in the physical too, like you can have people that support you, like that can be also a form of guide. But I think most of us are referring to like spirit guides or like ETs or maybe deceased loved ones or gods and goddesses, like it can manifest in or ascended masters, like that's something very popular in the past 100 years or so. But yeah, in most of the cases, we don't really know who we are working with because, in my opinion, we are one, like we're not ready, or it's just simply something we wouldn't even understand, like what it is. And like they don't lie to you. Don't want no, they don't want to lie to you about who they are, so they'd rather like keep it. They just simply won't address it or just won't show themselves to you until you're ready. Or when you're ready, they will let you know step by step, or like, and to test you, or like how to you react to certain stuff, so they can like know if they can like show more of themselves to you, or like to let you know more of who they are, basically. But in general, I don't think it's like super important to know all the details, because it's like a super complex way of how this functions. It can be just like one being, it can be like a collective of beings, or it can be like these omnipresent beings, like maybe like archangels or something very large, like a being that is able to communicate and work with various different people at the same time, and they all kind of like overlap and do it and come in at the same time. So there isn't just one or the other. It's like I know, like an equation of like many of them working together with you. And also remember that they always change as well. So depending on like what you need and what you're focusing on, like what you're working on in your life, they always change. So maybe the guy you were working with consciously last year most likely will not be the one that you're going to work with this year, because you have learned something there. You have maybe completed something together, like a project or something, and now it is time for you to move on to the next phase. And that usually means that you are going to receive someone else who's going to assist you with that. But not necessarily, like there are no hard rules here. But in general, like there are types of guides that are the teachers. They usually come and go, because depending on what you're learning, you're going to need a different teacher usually. But the ones who are like very close to you and are your maybe star family or your protectors, they usually pretty much stay with you always. So you can always develop an awesome relationship with them as well. Okay, let's see. Okay, I don't really understand this. Crystal Gillen, any thoughts on what we should be doing at this time? My circle can't get any smaller. I guess like you're referring to maybe as you're changing in vibration and your belief systems, you're losing your old best friends, which can totally happen after having a huge awakening experience, that you realize that, hey, like the people that are around me no longer resonate, or they are not the healthiest for my growth. It's like strangers are coming out of the woodwork to talk, but people I've known for years, including family, act weird towards me. Yes, this is happening so fast. I feel so out of place. Yes. Yeah, like you're changing drastically in vibration, and people who are not doing the same, like they are, I wouldn't say like you're leaving them behind, but it's kind of the same thing that you're moving out of their field of vibration, and you're like no longer as compatible as you were like maybe last year or 10 years ago. And even though they are your best friends since you were kids, like you're like complete strangers right now because you have moved so beyond where you were like last year that just simply cannot connect anymore, or they feel like a complete stranger all of a sudden. And it does happen with other people too, that you like shift so much they just simply don't understand like what the hell is happening, like. And yeah, like this is how slowly people can like fade out of our, I know, like, I wouldn't say like reality, but just like maybe you had like a best friend or a circle of friends, and you really loved each other, like you were super connected, but as you're like moving away from that stage of your life, like it will become like more and more difficult to interact with them. And even if you like try to meet with them or like come together or just communicate, like always something intervenes, like always something happens, and slowly you just like fade out of each other's reality, kind of. And after a point, you don't even want to meet anymore because you're like so distant and detached from each other. So prepare for that. But also, it can be also a good thing because uh, as you're doing this, as you're moving forward vibrationally, then more and more you will attract people who are closer in resonance to you, who are at the same level or have the same interest or hobbies as you do. Okay. Yes. Curly Vegan. Awesome name. I have a question. How do you become more of a sovereign being, reclaim your power, and standing in it? Yes. Yeah, like we addressed the whole topic of belief systems. I think like that's basically that's the only thing that really is holding us back is like what do you believe to be true? Because if you believe something to be true, then you're experiencing this reality from that perspective. And the only thing through like how to work through that is like to be very mindful, and whenever things come up or you behave in a specific way that you feel it's not representative of who you want to be, then be very mindful, be very present, and like work with yourself. Like, why am I doing a specific thing? Why is this coming up? And how can I change it, basically? Also, there are like different ways of like reprogramming this, but I think the quickest way of doing it is like working with the violet flame. I think we did like a month ago a violet flame group meditation. There are also a lot of resources online. It's like a super hypercharged energetic tool that can assist you in your journey of like working through the dense stuff very quickly. So I think using that on a day-to-day basis can be super helpful. And in the state of the violet flame, like bring up the limiting things, maybe just that day that came up, or unpleasant things that came up that day, and just work with it in that violet flame state, basically, and transform those states and those negative belief systems into the light of life or something that is worthy. Transmutation is the weapon of the master, so use it. We have the power to use it. Okay. If we volunteered to come to Earth to elevate and raise its vibration, why do I have this strong feeling that I didn't want to be here? Yes, and there was a good response to this. The starseed loneliness is more bearable after finding others. So yeah, like we live in a world of the internet where we are much more interconnected. And thanks to the magic of the internet, now we are connecting. I'm not sure how many of us are present right now, but this is just like one occasion, one opportunity. Now we can connect with many, many, many like-minded individuals online. You don't even necessarily like have to like reach out to them, but just like listening to their stories, or just being part of a community, and like knowing that, hey, like I'm not alone in this crazy earth experience, there are like others like me. You can also reach out and communicate, make new friends. Like now we have an amazing opportunity that was not available to us like just maybe 10 years ago. So we live an amazing time, and like being isolated, I think, is a choice nowadays. Because yeah, we have so many wonderful resources that are like freely available to us. Also, if the people who are present most likely know Higher Vibrations channel, like she creates these weekly Zoom meetings which are free, where many of star seeds, like energy workers, like people who are going through the awakening process, join together. You don't even have to be like talk or just have your camera there. You just be present and like see and hear all the other I don't know, like soul group members of your family being there, sharing what you're going through. Like it can be a super healing process. Also, sharing what you're going through can be a super healing process as well. Like that's kind of why I started my YouTube channel, is to not be alone and isolated. It has been super healing on my end. So you don't have to start a YouTube channel, but just you can share your things and experiences with others. And now you have great groups, communities, forums where you can do so. Just attract the one that is closest to your resonance. Okay, so yeah, like, but regarding like, we came here to help Earth, but now we want to, now since we found out how dense this place is, we want to leave. But yeah, like that can be a bit detrimental and counterproductive, because we came here to assist, but after we have found out how dense and nasty Earth can be, we just want to go home. But yeah, we didn't came here to go home. We came here to assist planet Earth and everyone who wants to raise its vibration and to heal. And I think the best thing that you can do on each day is like do a little meditation or something that you enjoy, through which you can reconnect with your higher self, like revitalize yourself, like re-energize yourself. So then you're like not drained by this whole Earth experience. Because like if we get caught up in all the nasty stuff that are happening here, like it can be super draining, and we don't want that. And you don't want that, especially because you're an empath, and being a drained empath is not a cool thing. That's not a good place to be. So that is why it's so important to like do energy maintenance on yourself and like recalibrate yourself, do your protection work, and like do something every day or like a few occasions in a week, which is something revitalizing for you, something that makes you happy. Maybe you're reconnecting with your higher self, or maybe your star family during your meditations, or you're doing some kind of healing work, or you're writing a book, doing paintings, creating music, whatever it may be. Like each of our journey is unique, and we came here to do unique and interesting stuff. And just by like expressing the dormant creativity within you is like a super healing thing that you can do. I also think that in the past few years I heard about like doing art therapy, or like drawing as a form of therapy, I think. So since if you're a starseed or like energy healer or light worker, however you want to call yourself, then that means you're creative. So doing some kind of art, music, writing songs, or playing a piano, whatever, like expressing your creativity is a super great way of like healing and bringing things back into alignment. Because like in my opinion, like what we carry, these high vibrational energies, the best way we can express it here on this reality is through art, because like art is something abstract, it's much more free flowing, especially music. And like that's the best way it can come through in a tangible way, so others can experience it as well. So have fun exploring your creative side. Okay. So, can ETs visit you in your dreams? I felt this intense energy 2 nights in a row, as if I was sucked up into a UFO. But both times it was a dream within a dream. Yes, they can totally visit us through dreams. They can also communicate and interact with us through dreams. And like this whole phenomenon of like a dream within a dream is how it can happen, not just with ETs, but many different other beings as well, is that you have like your generic dream experience, and like all of a sudden it just like shifts and turns into a different direction. And maybe visually it doesn't, but you like feel it energetically that, hey, like something shifted in the background. Like this is not just my dream right now. Like it is like moving towards something else. And it has like a gradual transition to something else. So it's not that harsh. But yeah, like they can totally do that. And also in most cases they can use the symbology of your dreams to like communicate with you, so they don't necessarily present themselves as they are or declare themselves who they are, but maybe something interesting appears in your dream, which kind of feels, I wouldn't say like out of place, but feels very different from the rest of your dream, but still it's there and integrated in your dream, and you're like interacting with it, or you're receiving more in-depth information from that specific thing, whatever it may be, because they can choose to represent themselves by whatever means makes sense to you, basically. Okay, so that was an interesting thingy. And yes, I see Jenny is here. Let's talk about the Akashic Records. Why is this knowledge given fully to some? Okay, well, I consciously don't necessarily go into the Akashic Records, but I do have some experience with it. I know that there are like some people who are like super experts in this, and like that's their, I wouldn't say profession, but their field of expertise of like working with the Akashic Records and like being this type of librarian type of being. So maybe if they like work with you, like you can ask them specific things and they can like withdraw information from the records. Like some people have this ability, but it is not necessarily something that all of us possess. Although in my experience and opinion, like all of us do have access to it to a certain extent, and also we do withdraw information from time to time, but most likely it's integrated with something else. Like it can also happen like during your day, like you're working on something or you need specific inspiration or information, and it just simply comes to your mind like some kind of out of the blue inspiration, or some kind of something that you feel that comes from your higher self, and you don't necessarily know the source of it. And in some cases, depending on what we need, we can draw upon the Akashic Records as well for inspiration, for like going more in depth into specific subjects. But yeah, like some people are like super adept on like accessing that source of information. And in my humble opinion, like it's going to be much more available to most of us, since we are waking up and our collective is healing and receiving upgrades. Like it will be much more freely available to people to tap into it. Not just because like the Akashic Records are changing or anything, like it's more like because we are adapting and evolving, and we are able to tap into it much more easily than before. Now it won't take as much work or preparation to like match your frequency to that specific vibrational plane where you can access the Akashic Records. Now we're moving into time when these types of communications will be much more easier. That's why channeling and receiving higher vibrational messages or music is much more fluid and easier because the collective has changed a lot. Okay, this is also from Jenny. Why do some of us become aware we know the secret of the world? This only leaves us with a bigger question. Do we talk, or are we supposed to remain silent? Yeah, well, this is a very poetic one. But yeah, but in general, like, I think we are now in a time where we can talk, and we don't have to, of course, but now we have insight to so many things. And just as I was expressing previously, like, we are going to have more and more access to deeper and more exotic information than we had previously. And we don't necessarily have to share it, of course. But I think like we're moving into a time where sharing it will be great benefit to many, because like more people are open to these types of things, even though like maybe not consciously, but just in general, as the collective is changing, people's consciousness is also shifting, and the unawake masses are also shifting. So some of you are like very vigilant and observing people. You may have noticed that people who have maybe been rejecting these types of topics like completely, maybe like 10 years ago, or just in general, all of a sudden they're asking you questions regarding strange topics they would have never addressed ever. And yeah, I usually never bring these things up. No, I never bring these things up, to be honest, because I learned early on, like, it's better like not necessarily sharing these exotic things with everyone. So everyone that you meet, even though it's very exciting to you, but some people just simply don't understand these things. And I just, yeah, like, I don't want to throw pearls in unwanted places. But I'm not sure like who pointed it out like last year. Like, it's no longer like throwing pearls in front of swine. It's like now it's sowing seeds, because maybe you leave a few seeds here and there and it starts to bloom, because people are now much more ready collectively to open up to more interesting things, to new possibilities of how to live and exist, basically. Because it has been proven to them like over and over again in the past few years or throughout their lives that, hey, like, we've been repeating stuff that are no longer working for us. People are like thirsty for something else, or like a new direction, or just something that can point them in the so-called right direction to make changes that are actually representative of their highest joy. And many of us who have been on this path for quite some time, in some cases many lifetimes, like, we are here to guide and assist them, or at least like hold space for them, so they can feel that, hey, like, you are safe in this whole process of transformation. This is like completely normal. This is completely okay how you feel, and this is just a phase of the whole journey. Like, regardless like how difficult it may seem, it's just part of the journey, and it will just, that's how it is, but it's not how it's going to be. Like, you're just in a phase right now, and it's going to pass as you're working through all these difficult stuff. Okay, let me see if there anything else. And we have the last question. I'm not sure who sent this in 2 weeks ago. Someone asked me to talk about Orion. Like, I don't have much information there, but yeah, like, my channel's name was Guardian of Orion for quite some time, just changed it recently. But I know that we had some Orion influence on our world. Some people may say it's good or bad, I'm not sure. Like, the only thing that I've experienced is like connection with Osiris, which is the Egyptian god of death and rebirth and the underworld, which is not, anyone who is like not familiar with the Egyptian mythology or cosmology, like, that is not a bad thing. Like, Osiris is a very benevolent figure in the whole cosmology of the Egyptians. He's like the heavenly father to the Egyptians, I think he was like the first pharaoh or something who brought prosperity to Egypt in ancient times. And basically he is connected with Orion and Mother Isis with Sirius. And the only experience I had with Orion was during a hypnotic regression in which I went back to ancient Egypt, and I experienced like passing from one life to the other. And in this whole process, I was taken to the constellation of Orion. And on Orion, I found that they were like trying to emulate or replicate or preserve what was happening on ancient Egypt. And yeah, like it wasn't the real thing, that's for sure, but they tried to replicate certain things from Earth in the ancient times and also Atlantean times to preserve it before the Dark Ages hit us here. Because like they know that like they knew back then that all these sacred things and all the things that were good and prosperous in antiquity and before that phase of our evolution will disappear and will be eradicated by the Dark Ages. So many beings try to like evacuate and preserve what we have developed here in other star systems. And like basically that's all the information I have about that. Okay, let's see. Okay, I think that's about it for this day's transmission. I'm happy that so many of you were able to join us. I'm also grateful for the many questions. And if you haven't checked out the audiobook, Thoth, the Book of Immortals, starting to get late around here, then you can do so. It's amazing listening through. I'm not the narrator of it. I hired a professional narrator for it, so it's even cooler than than if I would have done it. So please check that out. It's really cool. It's very activating. And I hope that many of you will listen to it over and over again, deciphering more and more information from it. Thank you for joining us today. Have an awesome post-full moon period and hope to see you all next week. Have a wonderful day. Bye.